basically saying.
Into order. Will the clerk please read this meeting statement?
Adequate notice of this regular meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 17, 2024. Listed at the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Thank you. Would you please stand with me and join with a pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri. Councilmember Di Benedetto.
Present.
Councilmember Higgins.
Here.
Councilmember Sparta.
Present.
Council President Rizzuto.
Here.
At the autism.
Thank you. No, I have it. This evening, we have a proclamation on, that was suggested to us by a resident on autism. And that April be Autism Month, and I'm pleased to ask Mr. Sparta if he would read this.
Thank you. Designation of April as Autism Month. Whereas autism spectrum disorders are a group of developmental disabilities characterized by atypical development in socialization, communication, behavior, generally appear before 3 years of age and continue over a lifetime. And whereas an estimated 1/3 of people with autism are unable to communicate verbally, whereas approximately 2/3 of children with autism between the ages of 6 and 15 have been victims of bullying, and whereas nearly 28% of 8-year-olds with autism spectrum disorder have engaged in self-injurious behavior such as headbanging, arm biting, or skin scratching, and whereas almost half of those with autism have wandered or bolted from safety, and drowning accounts for approximately 90% of deaths associated with wandering or bolting by children with autism age 14 and younger. And whereas the lifetime cost of caring for a person with autism is estimated to be as great as 2.4 million. And whereas, although there is no known cure for autism, research suggests that early diagnosis and treatment can reduce the cost of lifetime care and improve outcomes for people with autism. And whereas, according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, more than 3.5 million Americans live with an autism spectrum disorder, and 1 out of every 59 American children born today with diagnosed with autism. And whereas New Jersey has the highest rate of autism in the nation, and the prevalence of autism in the state continues to exceed and outpace the rate of autism in other states. And whereas since the 1970s, National Autism Awareness Month has taken place annually in April to highlight the growing need for concern and awareness about autism. And whereas, given the rapidly growing rate of autism spectrum disorders in New Jersey and the pressing need for early detection, it is altogether fitting and proper and within the public interest to designate April of each year as Autism Awareness Month in New Jersey, and to encourage the citizens of the state to join the observation of the month and raise awareness of autism spectrum disorders. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Vernon Township Mayor and Council that April is recognized as National Autism Awareness Month in Vernon Township, New Jersey.
Thank you. Mayor's comments. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. I want to first apologize for putting my back to you. I would like, so on April 12th, Vernon has lost a true hero last week. Severe Chris Christensen. Chris moved to the United States from Norway in 1956. He lived in Brooklyn and settled in Vernon in 1972. Chris served in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. After his military service, he began his long career as a tugboat captain. Chris was a volunteer with the McAfee Fire Department for over 50 years. That's longer than I've been around. Some of us think.
Rebecca?
He enjoyed Friday nights at the firehouse. He loved cruises, trips to Atlantic City, Fox News, and lunch with his buddies. He was also, and I have to share this because I'm sure I know many Jet fans and Met fans, so let it be heard that he was an avid Jets and Mets fan. So I never met Chris, but seeing and hearing some of his stories, I think we would have been good friends. I attended the wake on Friday evening, and again, I got to know a lot about him, and at this time, I'd ask that for everyone just for a moment of silence. Thank you. After the wake, I attended the installation dinner for the Vernon Fire Department. I wanted to congratulate all the new men and women on their promotions, and most importantly, their sacrifice and dedication to serving our community. Since we're talking about fire department related topics, I have another topic I want to share. The brotherhood we see from our men and women in the fire department is incredible. It truly is. Our fire department has so many strong relationships with other fire departments across New Jersey and New York. This being said, I'm pleased to announce that Mahwah Fire Department has graciously offered to lease to the Highland Lakes Fire Department a tanker at zero cost. Let me be clear, that's a zero cost to Vernon. They could have sold this tanker probably for a couple of $100,000, but they have chosen to help their fellow brother and sisters out. This couldn't have come at a better time because we currently have a tanker, I believe, on order, and another tanker that has a leak in it, which I'm currently working on sending it to Chicago for repairs, but that's another topic for another day. But I will personally be taking a ride with our fire commissioner, John Conch, and possibly another member of the Highland Lakes Fire Department to pick up the tanker, hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday evening. So I would like to personally thank the fire department for thinking of us and how appreciative Vernon is. I'll also be sending a thank you letter to the mayor and council for approving this deal. Speaking of heroes, Council President, you may or may not know the following people: Kathy Southard, Laura Kraus, David Smith, Kyla Mueller, Stephanie McPherson, Kevin Duffy, and Deborah Rivera. They are among our nation's first responders, rarely seen, but always heard and appreciated. Their calm voices transmitted over the radio airwaves are the heroes behind the scenes who ensure an ambulance, fire truck, or police crews to every 9/11 request for emergencies. Last week, as part of the New Jersey Tree Recovery Campaign, which is part of the Earth Day recognition, Michelle from our rec department initiated the application for 300 free trees to be given out to our residents. The rec department worked with our environmental commission on handing out these seedlings. So thank you to Stephanie, Katrina, and Ann, and Michelle for all of your hard work in making this a success. Okay, Vernon Township has won for the second year in a row a Healthy Town Award, which is right here. They received this Healthy Town designation because access to outdoor space and trails is a cornerstone of the NWC program. NWC means Player Wellness Campaign. Incorporating physical activity into community building events is such one of the ways that our township has created a culture of health in the community. So again, I want to thank Michelle, also Mayor Howard Burrell, because this really started on on his watch. So we will have this hung up in our office somewhere. We'll find a location. But I'll just pass this on to you guys to see.
Thank you.
On going forward, this Saturday, April 27th, at 11 a.m., we'll be having a Blue Star Memorial. This Blue Star Memorial is the third of all Sussex County to be given this honor. I want to thank again our rec department, Michelle Downson, and former Mayor Burrell, who initiated this Blue Star Memorial. I invited all of our elected officials from the county and our local council. This is an opportunity to honor our past, present, and future armed forces. I will be speaking, followed by Senator Space and former Mayor Howard Burrell. And finally, I am very pleased to announce that on May 1st, 12 noon, should be 12 noon, we're still working on that. I just had the phone call a little while ago, that we'll be having our groundbreaking ceremony for the 55-unit building. There's still plenty of work to be done behind the scenes as we continue to work with the developers and our building department on areas of the construction project, but it is ongoing, and we are going to be breaking ground on May 1st. So, and that's all my comments for today. So thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Mayor. This time I'd like to, excuse me, open the meeting to the public for discussion of current agenda items. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before Mrs. Bucieri was unable to attend, she sends her regrets and hope everyone is well. Anybody has any comments to the council, please come forward to the podium. Is there anybody online?
Don't have any hands up?
Okay, with that, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All members of the council have received copies of the bills list. Is there any group of bills that you'd like to discuss? Have any clarification?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On check 61572. 572. Soil characterization?
Yeah.
What,
61572.
yeah,
Okay, that was a grant. It was the Dewberry Engineers. That was the Wallace property. That was
oh, okay,
the drilling.
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have two. Check number 61637, check to Josh's firm. That the last of the retainers, because I think last month I asked this question, I was told that last month was the last of the retainers.
I'm looking.
It's fine, take your time.
We could follow up with an answer.
Yeah,
Wanna-
even if it is in here,
It is.
I don't know if that would be the last. So I'll find out from Danelle and I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. I just, you know, we're in April now. I understand things run
Right.
a little past, but
Yeah, we're not using them.
no, I know, but
I hear you.
I think should have been paid by now. No offense, Matt.
No, that's okay. I mean, and, you know, I will say that, like, I don't think, you haven't probably seen any bills from us yet, because they're notoriously, they typically do run 2 or 3 months behind. It's not great practice, but it's commonplace, so.
Okay,
But, you know, I'm sure if there's any questions, though, I'll also follow up with Josh's office. I can just ping them and just say, hey, make sure you get everything in.
The other one, Tina, I know you won't have an answer for this one. Check number 61624 to store tractor for the purchase of a new Toro. It's an infield groomer for $35,000. And I believe it was last month, we approved a list of equipment to be sold on municipal bids for, well, I can't remember the term, but unusable equipment or, whatever it was. And since I enjoy looking at that stuff, I went on and I looked, and on it was a 2018 infield groomer that was for sale. And it had a blown engine on it, and that was the only thing that was wrong with it. So I'm just wondering why we just didn't spend the $1,500 to fix the blown engine, put a new engine in it, rather than spend $35,068 on a new machine. These are, you know, I know you're not the person to answer this, but, you know, I would hope there's some questions that are being asked when POs and requisitions come through. And when you have a new thing come through, the first thing I would ask is what's wrong with our old one? And can it be fixed and so on? Because I look at, we just wasted $31,000 on a piece of equipment, on a new piece of equipment for something that could have been fixed. It's, again, it's a 2018. It says it right on municipal bids. It's a 2018 and it says that was a blown engine. And that piece of equipment is something I'm very familiar with from my time working on golf courses. And I know the engine is not more than $1,500. So I would like to just have more scrutiny involved when it comes to things like this. So they're the only questions I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sparta. Those are very good questions. The one we're looking at on O'Toole is 6167. Possibility if wasn't something else wrong of getting a return?
I'd have to look into it. I have,
Please.
I think I have details on it,
Oh, okay.
but not on me.
Okay. All right.
And I would tend I would tend to think that this purchase originated quite some time ago, because I know for a fact that Toro's have an extreme problem getting equipment out to tune of like 18 to 24 months. So it's not something that I'm sure happened recently, that it's been in the works.
Yeah, oh yeah, long before my time. But I did question all the stuff that was going to auction. And he did provide me a list of, again, all the issues, with those, machines.
The current bid on that machine right now is $23 for somebody to buy it.
I'm going in for 24.
25.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All members of the council have received copies of minutes of the executive session of April 8th, 2024. May I have a motion to place those minutes on the floor for consideration? Moved. Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Are there any concerns or changes, deletions, additions? If not, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All members have also received the minutes of our regular meeting of April 8th. Excuse me. May I have a motion to place those minutes on the floor for consideration?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Are there any changes, deletions, additions, corrections to be made? Not, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Carries.
thank you. Consent agenda. If anybody wishes to have any resolution. And I believe this evening, we only have resolutions. If you'd like to have them separated for discussion, please let me know, and I will do so. Otherwise, but I would like to discuss resolution 24-115. So may I have a motion to place that resolution on the floor for consideration?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mrs. De Benedetto. This is a resolution that has to be placed on the agenda for consideration, and so that we may, once it's passed, send it to local league of council municipalities, thank you. It's because of the fact that this particular issue came from Trenton as a unfunded mandate. Recently, I had the occasion to attend a meeting of members of the council, mayors, business administrators, and with the state senator, Mr. Space, and Mrs. Fantasia, and also Mr. Ingemore, Mike Inganamore, I'm sorry. And this was an issue that came up that was raised by many of the people from various administrations and townships, including myself, because this is typical of a situation where we get a requirement from Trenton with no consideration as to the absolute cost of what this particular item is. I know that Mr. Sparta and Mr. Higgins are well aware of this, having served on the board. You know, you get the request, you get the order, you get the mandate, and who pays for it? Well, you figure that out. I just tell you what to do, you know, that type of thing. So I thought I would bring this to the attention of the community via this resolution, because it is costing us money. Overall, this particular resolution will stand to require us to purchase another street sweeper. It will require us and a vac, because with this requirement, we are being moved from a tier B to a tier A for the treatment of stormwater runoff and so forth. It'll require us to clean the catch basins within the community. And that means every one of them. It'll require us to annotate each of those catch basins by a particular form of annotation, which would be using our computers, getting tablet computers, and we have to add certain software to the computer. And the sum total of this, plus some of the other situations that we're going to be required to do, we get a big total of $75,000. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes,
the cost of the back is what, about
Or 40.
440,000?
right.
And then there are some of the other issues that are.
Gotta replace the top of the catch basins too.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
them.
yep. And then the personnel necessary to administer the program,
Right.
it'll require a minimum of 4. One for, traffic safety, so you're looking at both sides, one to be there and, doing the job, and certainly you don't lift catch basins, by yourself, so it's an expensive proposition, and within enrolling stock as well as in commitment to personnel. So if anybody has any questions, I know there was an extensive backup to this provided, and
How many iPads have to be purchased? How many iPads have to be purchased?
They purchased them. I believe there was one for each supervisor that was on the road. So we have 3 supervisors on the road plus our DPW director and the assistant director.
5 of them.
So, yes,
I was wondering because it's $3,500. So I
right.
was hoping it just wasn't one after my last.
No,
question.
no, it wasn't. And we received a $75,000 grant because we were forced to change from one tier to the other. But if you look at the items that we've actually, 75,000 didn't do much for us.
So may I have a motion to place this?
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if we end up having to do this, right? What's the chances of possibly having some shared service agreements with towns around us, since, I can't imagine towns like Hamburg or, smaller towns would be purchasing vac trucks that were for $440,000. So is there a potential opportunity there? As I see the mayor writing down a note that he's gonna make some fixes tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll look into that.
And I don't know if every town in the state was mandated to change from a tier B to a tier A. So,
Chart, what would make that mandate change?
Yeah, why were we?
Size.
yeah,
Like population size?
Excuse me, but
a little bit of everything, the population plus the size of our, our township.
But it makes you laugh because right here it says, whereas tier A meant for densely populated municipalities. I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider us densely populated.
It's not like, we're not like Newark where they're all stacked on top of each other.
when I told the people, the other administrators, what was happening in Vernon, they were surprised because that we received
Yeah.
75,000 because many of them only received 25,000.
So is this likely that we're going to have to pay this and we're gonna be moved to tier A?
Oh, we are already moved to tier A. We don't have a choice in the matter. We were moved. So all these, the actual stuff that was attached to this,
Yeah.
we have to make sure that we're following through with every one of those steps. And each step is given a certain amount of time frame that we need to have it completed. You're supposed to have it completed within, I think it's 5 years. But there's certain things that need to be completed at earlier times than others. And that's what this whole breakdown is. If you look through it, it'll tell you, okay, you have to get this done in like 6 months, then so there's different steps that we have to complete.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is because the organization that I cited will have standing. And they can go to the New Jersey League of Municipalities on our behalf and on behalf of the other communities and make their voice known. And in that case, they can begin to ask for consideration of reversal in Trenton. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. I really don't think so. But I think it's necessary that when these things come up, we voice our opinion and voice it in a way where we get some type of hearing, so to speak. And I just wanted.
May I ask, hey, Matt, sorry, I don't mean to put you on, but you, your area is, pretty populated. Could you shed any light on what those requirements are that moves us to tiers? I mean to put you on the spot with that.
No, I'd have to get back. I don't recall having dealt with this specific issue, before, either in my capacity as a lawyer for other municipalities or in my other, in my side gig. I have not, I haven't seen it come up, but I can take a look
I
and see what
think-
information.
I think, if you look at it, I believe you were already tier A, and they weren't going to change anything. So not every municipality was, tier A. So that's what happened.
So are they just getting rid of tier B or?
No, it's elevation. And the reason being,
It says here, the DEP eliminated the tier B classification.
I don't believe it's overall. I think it's on certain community. The problem that you run into is that we have the exceptional amount of stormwater runoff because of the nature of, you have mountains on both sides, the
Right.
valleys, and so forth. So I think that's where it's looking.
Does this include private roads as well, or
No, we don't deal with the private
I
roads.
didn't know if it had to do with another contractor issue?
But Brad, back to your shared service comment. We just had a meeting today with I had the council president with us as well, with the Board of Ed on doing the street sweeping and also the catch basins as well. So that's something for the next council meeting. We'll put that to you guys, but so we did look for shared service somewhere, just not outside of district. So,
Thank you.
but it is definitely something to look at.
Motion is on the floor. May I have I believe it's motion and second, so may I have a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Member Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Carries.
Okay, moving to the remainder. Resolution 2416, governing body certification of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunities Commission enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Resolution 24-117, approving active volunteer excuse me, firefighter for membership in the New Jersey State Firemen's Association, Mueller. It's resolution 24-118, refund overpayment due to tax court judgment, Sangari, block 541, lot 48. Resolution 24-119, resolution authorizing the award contract to vendor with National Cooperative Contracts, HGA CBUY. Resolution number 24-120, authorizing the Township of Vernon to accept loan of fire tanker from Township of Mawa. Resolution number 24-121, authorizing cancellation of the outstanding checks over 6 months old to municipal cash balances. Resolution authorizing resolution 24-122, authorizing approval of Sussex County contributions to Vernon Emergency Medical Service, VEMS. Resolution 24-123, refund overpayment due to state tax court judgment, Spiati and Associates, block 220, lot 1. Resolution 24-124, refund overpayment due to state tax court judgment, Spiati and Associates, block 220, lot 1. Resolutions 24-125, refund overpayment due to state tax court judgment, Spiati and Associates, block 220, lot 1. Resolution 24-126, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 106, lot 21, Stewart. Resolution 24-127, block 106, lot 21, canceling taxes for total disabled veteran. Resolution 24-128, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 8, lot 3, Rivera. Resolution 24-129, refund for totally disabled, I'm sorry, it's a different one. Resolution for totally disabled veteran, block 8, lot 3, Rivera. Resolution 24-130, block 8, lot 3, Rivera, canceling taxes for total disabled veteran. Resolution 24-131, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 306, lot 16, Gary. Resolution 24-132, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 306, lot 16, Gary. Resolution 24-133, block 306, lot 16, Gary, canceling taxes for total disabled veteran. Resolution twenty-four 134, refund overpayment, block 106, lot 43, Humphreys. Resolution twenty-four 135, refund overpayment, block 26, lot 279, Russell. Resolution twenty-four 136, refund overpayment in multiple lots for logic. Resolution twenty-four 137, refund overpayment, block 529, lot 176, Core Logic. Resolution twenty-four 138, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 355, lot 6, Ruyan. Resolution twenty-four 139, resolution authorizing leasing of certain vehicles for the Department of Administration through Sourcewell National Cooperative, number 060618-DFM through Enterprise Fleet Management Services Incorporated. Quote, number 7846810, one-time agate black metallic. Resolution twenty-four 140, a resolution expressing community support for water and wastewater infrastructure projects, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto, seconded by Mr. Sparta. Questions or comments? No? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Public comment? Before I open the floor to public comment, I would like to read some comments that I've written relative to, I think, a minor change in how we're going to be handling it, this portion of the meeting. Following our last meeting, a number of comments were addressed to me and to my colleagues concerning the comments that were made by members of the public regarding issues that were not germane to any issues on the agenda or related to township business. In retrospect, I believe that the subject matter brought by many residents in the 5-minute sessions have been issues not of council concerns. We strive to provide an open forum for discussion of matters that may be on the mind of residents, but not yet part of an agenda. In many cases, this is how a problem is brought to our attention or to the attention of the administration. Perfect example was the matter of autism, brought to our attention by a resident and a request that April be proclaimed Autism Month. Another was the issuing of squatting and home protection rights brought to our protection by Mrs. Larson, which the council acted on very quickly and is still under work. I believe, and the council supports this position, that we cannot allow our business meetings to become a place of interpersonal conflicts. To sit and allow comments regarding accusations of lack of integrity or individual efforts on matters not within our control or oversight does not produce a productive meeting. Therefore, as council president, I will respectfully ask that the public restrict its comments to matters concerning the township or its welfare or issues that can be resolved only by the administration or the council. I would hope that we can work our way through this. I'm sure there may be concerns, but council simply does not appreciate being put in the position of having to, I guess, play referee. And so we'll move on. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public on items other than what was listed on the agenda, but within the scope of the parameters that I have just cited? So moved. Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mrs. De Benedetto. Motion, the meeting is open to the public for 5 minutes on any of these issues. May anyone wishing to come forward?
Scott Castle from Glenwood, just very quickly. I run up here very fast if I hear something I don't like, so I figured I'll run up when I get to. I just wanted to say for the Bill's questions that Ms. Di Benedetto and also Mr. Sparta had, that's exactly the type of actions for me that I love to hear from the council, which is, even if a charge or a check we're writing or whatever is just missing a justification and it fully explains why it is, I think asking these questions, and I think that was a great one on the infield groomer. Maybe they do need it. The other one is totally shot, but just getting some clarification on there stops some of these checks being written that maybe we could have saved. So I just want to say thanks for that. That's really good. My other comment is just a kind of a statement, because I don't think a lot of the taxpayers understand what goes into their taxes, just because everybody's working, all of that. And I fear that because in talking to one of our neighbors today, it was kind of surprising, but the effort that went in by the council and the mayor to have a 0% townside tax increase, I think is going to be totally overshadowed and lost in the shuffle, because the Board of Ed has the 2.7% increase, which, is already over the 2% cap for whatever reason. And then they're going to put that second question on the ballot for another $2 million, which is going to be way more than that. So I think the taxpayers are just going to see, wow, I'm getting killed with taxes again. And then
The county. You're forgetting the county on it.
that's true. You got to throw the county in there too. But to me, the Board of Ed piece is just, it's a killer, and it's out of control there. I'm not looking for any solution. I'm just saying, I don't know how the word gets out. I really don't have any answers for it, but like talking to neighbors by us, they blame the mayor and the town council. Like, that's what people think. They're like, these guys got to get taxes under control. You're actually doing that. And I think next year, because the surplus is going to be lower, you may not be able to do that. Who knows what's going on? And then they're going to blame you again. And they're going to be like, you just raised it 7% last year. What the heck's going on? So it's, like I said, I don't have an answer, but I feel like that's coming. I'm assuming you guys realize that, but it's unfortunate.
I think one of the things the council must do, and I've already discussed it, now other members of the council have discussed it, is perhaps it's time to bring back the segmented dollar bill, showing how much council spends in terms of the dollar that it brings in from assessed taxes, and how much the Board of Education, and how much the county, and how much library, and maybe the few minor pennies elsewhere. But I don't disagree with you. We can only handle what we can handle.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea, that the split up. I just don't know where do you put it that everybody sees it, because people don't see it. I mean, when I used to work in the city, I didn't pay attention to any of this because I had no time. So I think there's a lot of people in that you just see the tax increase.
I think maybe what we can do with it is put it in with the tax bill.
Oh,
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, it's an extra stuff.
Actually, it's already on your tax bill, how it's segmented out.
Yeah, just a question of reading.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is on there, how much of your $10,000 or whatever your property tax is, how much is going to county, how much is going to municipal, how much is going to BOE. But yeah, I agree that I read some of the comments that are out there, and I don't think people understand their tax bill.
And maybe a graphic or something like that would, help if it could go on.
Yeah, it's 56% schools, we're 24 and the county's 20. And it's with 30 million, there's a 70 million.
And it's just that this effort is really getting lost, which I think is huge. I mean, it looked like we were going to have an increase, now we're not, but yet it's still going to be a big increase,
Right.
overall. So
The other thing is I think it's necessary to point out that they are working. The members of the administration and the school board and member of our administration, trying to find ways of maybe thinking outside the box and, you know, forgetting who gets the credit, but the money does come out of our pockets. And if there's a way of saving that, some type of shared service agreement, they are looking into it. I sat in, as the mayor said, I sat in on a meeting today. And you do what you can, and everything, as I have always said, is incremental.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get enough incrementals.
We could debate for a long time on how hard they're working on it, but yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
And Steve, also on May 13th, the CFO is going to give a PowerPoint presentation on the budget. Go through
You can
everything.
go over all that. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Got it.
Is there anyone else?
Sean Clarkin from Barry Lakes section. I wasn't prepared to speak about this, but the new requirements that we have from the state. It's a lot of money, $400,000 just for the machine is a lot of money. If we determined whether it's the county roads, private roads, or state roads that we're responsible for, and then I would like to see things like this put out to bid. Not necessarily to give the work to a contractor, but just to see how much it would cost us. And then we try to do it in-house. And we do it in-house for a year or two, and we see what that's costing us. And then we compare it to the bids we got. And after a year or two, then we weigh it out. And we say, okay, we would have been better off giving it to a contractor from the get-go. Should we start doing that now? And we might be saving ourselves $400,000 for not having to purchase the equipment if we're hiring a contractor. And depending on how much those bids are, that could be 5 years of having the work done just for what we would have been spending on the equipment. So putting it out to bid might be a good idea. And to somebody's point, whether it's all the roads or it's just the state roads, the county roads, or our private roads. When it comes to things like next year's budget, we have to be pressuring our staff members, our managers, to be cutting costs now, finding ways to save money now. Because by the time we come around to 2025's budget, it's too late. And somebody said in the last meeting, well, we're done with that now, it's over, we can wait till next November or whatever. That's not the way it should be. That's not at all the attitude we should have. We need to be tweaking this now and having it weigh heavy, the fact that we had questions about that $35,000 machine we're buying, and why didn't we replace the engine for $1,500? That needs to weigh heavy on the minds of the managers that are running our departments, that they all need to be looking for ways like this to save money. And by pointing it out and having it filter down through the ranks, that point's going to be made. We need to save money. We can't afford to live here too much longer if things keep going the way it is. My final statement is, if I understand the rumor mill, is that there's 5 open seats on the Board of Ed. And if that's true, that's a phenomenal opportunity for us. We did a really great job taking control with you guys, getting you guys in office. And I think if we do the same type of thing with the Board of Ed, there's got to be.
Excuse me. This kind of parallels what my comments were initially. I hear you. The other council members hear you, but we have no control over that. And it's not something that we would discuss at a council meeting.
Okay, I respect that. What I'm basically, my point is this, that if, as the town council, if we make the community aware of it, if we shake the tree, people will come to the surface and volunteer and run for those positions. If
I wouldn't.
a deaf ear to it,
I would encourage the community to look at what they can do as, in terms of being for volunteer service, either be with the council or with the Board of Education or with many of the other, organizations or groups that are available. But I don't think it's the council's position or place to begin to look at selective groups and seeing how we can develop.
So you don't think it's the council's responsibility to make the citizens
No, they,
finish my statement?
no, I think that I think the council's responsibility is to handle the duties and the responsibility of the township, not the Board of Education. They're two separate bodies. They're elected bodies. They have their own separate budget. They are governed under two different titles in the state's charter. One, I believe, is what?
18A.
18A, and the other one, of course, is ours is the Division of Community Affairs, which has its own charter.
Not asking you to oversee them. I'm not asking you to tell them how to do their job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughts.
I finish. Can I just say one more thing or are you?
Oh, you have your 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. I've heard in previous meetings that we have a lot of former Board of Ed members here on the council. And all I'm asking you to do is really just get the word out that we need to fill 5 positions on the Board of Ed. I'm not asking you to look for candidates. I'm not looking for you to campaign.
I understand, but I don't believe it's appropriate for making the dais a bully pulpit for asking for candidates for a particular group.
Oh.
Really? Yes. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council? We have anybody?
Jesse Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Yes, good evening. I wanted to address the piece of equipment, but in light of what you just announced, Council President Rizzuto, I want to address that. It's unfortunate that you would succumb to the suggestion of a bully who threatens to sue.
Excuse me.
Wait, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again.
No, Mrs. Palladini, this is exactly what the council wants to. If you have an issue with any other.
I have an issue. Will you let me finish?
Yes, but it's not something that you or that I or any member of the council or the council in general, the administration.
Mr. Rizzuto, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. During the open public session, where you do not have to stick to something that's on the agenda, I could come up and I could sing the Star Spangled Banner, and I would be within my right to do so.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you cannot stop a citizen from saying what he or she wants to say, as long as it's not libelous, as long as it's not slanderous or inappropriate. So I am now going to say this. When I spoke at that last meeting, I was talking about the mayor and council. I was talking about the council business. I was talking about the lies that are continually stated at these council meetings about the scenic byway and about the scenic byway signage. I was referring to a lovely individual by the name of Heidi Labrie, who came up and
Excuse me,
commented.
can we please try and work within the parameters I stated?
Yes,
You know,
I'm trying.
I've offered you as person who was, eminently responsible for the passage of the byways, an opportunity to make a presentation. That has been deferred to, I believe, sometime in May.
Right, but you're not letting me address the issue.
Yes, I understand, but I'm trying to make this situation a little more palatable for the general public without having to bring in what some
And
people.
I'm trying to tell you that a member of the public can discuss anything and you cannot censor it. I was discussing the lies about Miss Labrie that are stated in public session.
Again, please.
In public session, the comments, the disgusting comments that are made about the mayor, the comments that are made about Mr. Benedetto, and what I was trying to say was that immediately after these council meetings, those slanderous, defamatory and disgusting comments are posted on that hate group. That's all I was saying. And
Okay,
that's all I'm going to say tonight.
thank you.
I'm not done. And if I see fit to bring it up again, I will bring it up. And maybe at the next meeting, I will sing the Star Spangled Banner because I do have a lovely voice.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not done.
Okay,
My last comment that I want to make is that if Mr. Sparta is correct about what he said, that's really, really egregious. What happened to that piece of equipment that only would have cost $1,500 to fix? Did you sell it or get rid of it?
It's on Municibids right now.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It is on municibids.com right now. It was part of the
Okay.
list that we approved last month for obsolete equipment to be sold through public auction on Municibids. That's how
Okay,
I found
thank
out
you.
about that piece.
All right, so did you already purchase the new piece?
believe it's out for,
There was a check written for it, so.
That's really unfortunate. And I understand a similar thing happened with a fire engine or some piece of fire equipment. To be selling something that cost $1,500 to fix and buying something new for $35,000. Seriously, I've asked you folks to scrutinize that bills list better. You are scrutinizing it a little bit better, but that's really, really egregious what I heard tonight. And I thank Mr. Sparta for bringing it up. That's all. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. George Nikanorov.
Mr. Nikanorov? Yes.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes?
I'd like to take a moment to say thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for listening to your constituents and putting some decorum behind these public comments. You are, I respect you, and I appreciate what you have done.
Thank you.
I have, with that said, I do have a question. Last council meeting, you mentioned that you were going to look into security issues with Zoom meetings. Have you taken that into consideration yet?
Zoom meetings?
That's,
Yeah.
it's in regards to the comments that I made.
Yeah, I'm referring to your comments, Councilman Sparta. Yes, correct.
I asked that to be placed on the agenda for a future discussion, so it has not been placed on the agenda yet.
Okay. Just for your consideration, there is a real issue in security. There is a solution out there that allows you to change your voice and create different voices. It's called voice.ai. I would recommend in your research that you look into that solution along with others, because you're absolutely right. That is something that can pose a very significant threat when doing Zoom calls. So I wanted to just throw it out there. I'm living and breathing AI today these days in the work that I do. So if there's any guidance or any advice that I can provide, I'm happy to provide it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, thank you very much for restoring decorum and making residents feel like they can comment and make a difference. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Ochams 2.
Yes, who might that be?
Yeah, it's Thomas McClackery. Again, good evening. Two quick comments on the item that Mr. Rizzuto brought up for comments on the resolutions and that which you all voted for. I'd just like to make the comment that what that is, it's about clean water. We're talking about our streams and our lakes. We don't want to pollute those resources any more than we have to, or even if we have to, perhaps we shouldn't. I'm of the opinion that what we got in the form of natural resources, we should keep in the pristine condition that they're in. I know that's an opposing viewpoint to a lot of people, but hey. My second point is this, person got up, the gentleman from, I think, Glenwood, and commented about the three entities that are involved in property taxes. And I'd just like to point out, I mean, everybody likes to come down on the BOE. But at any point, you politicians, and you're politicians now, not members of the BOE, at any point, at any time that you are disgusted, upset, uh, disagree with, the Board of Ed's uh, tax increases, shall we say, or their budget. It's very simple to fix, and you know, and I know that you can do it very simply by putting that Board of Education budget and the elections back on the ballot in April. There's three ways to do that. You can do it through a citizen's petition. You can do it through the BOE saying we're going to go put everything before the public again and have them vote on it. Or you could have the town council do the same thing and just say, hey, we want to have elections in April for the BOE and we want their budget put before the voters. Very simple. And that being said, and the fire being started, have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Annie L.
Yes.
I changed it. I hope you noticed, Marcy.
I did, thank you.
So anyway, I have a couple of comments. First off, regarding that piece of machinery, I just was thinking maybe you should take it back off of that sales list if it actually can be repaired for something in the neighborhood of 15, even if it's $3,000. It sounds like, I mean, who would trade in a car for, a $500 trade-in fee if you could actually repair it and get somewhere 25, 30,000? Or we could use it as a down payment for a trade-in against if we have to purchase this piece of equipment. It just seems that the heavy hand of authority from New Jersey is strangling our necks again and coming down with mandates that don't have a financial remedy from them. Everything is always one way, which is very, very upsetting. So I just thought maybe if you took it off there, we repaired the thing, and maybe if we have to buy the piece of equipment, we trade it in. Or maybe you cannibalize the parts and use the parts to repair this new one as it breaks, but just selling it for $20, $50, whatever, it really seems like a huge loss. Secondly, I have another cost-saving idea before the state of New Jersey gets us another time. I feel like we should think about selling the MUA. It's an albatross around our throats. It strangles us. It guides pretty much every move the town is making in an effort to try to save the MUA perpetually. And so, I did look, other towns have done it. Manville sold theirs, Salem sold theirs, Somerville sold it, Bound Brook sold theirs. So, the sewers can be sold. Maybe we should just get that off our necks before New Jersey comes down with another mandate. Or when we finally get everybody, on the system, the next thing we're going to need is all the improvements, and maybe state mandated improvements. It just seems like if we got rid of it, we wouldn't be chasing our tails for the next 30 years trying to fully fund that thing. So it's just a preemptive strike before the next shoe falls regarding the MUA. So thank you for your time. And one more thing, I do agree with putting the Board of Ed on the ballot and having the people vote on that budget as well. So thank you to Tom for suggesting that. Thank you again. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. I would like to address that comment regarding the sewers and selling them. That would right now be absolutely the worst thing that the township could do. Because it is because of the fact that we have the ability to handle the gallonage for growth that we are now getting many of the projects that are coming due. Mayor mentioned earlier about the groundbreaking for the over 55. Those are 55 plus units for the community. Plus, there are about 200 units that are going to be they're starting construction with on Route 94 across from Great Gorge South, which will add over 200 EDUs plus the 55 EDUs. There are additional projects that are being brought forward that have not yet been capitalized, but yet are they're looking to promote. And these projects can only take place because of the ability to handle effluent. And were we to do what was suggested now, it would be absolutely the worst thing that we could do. That decision has long since passed us. I understand that people think that we are overly indebted. We are not. I've mentioned this previously. In my opinion, in talking to auditors and in talking to some people who handle business administrators who handle the finances of a township, the debt service ratio that we enjoy is very, very low, comparatively speaking, to some of the other townships within the area. We're less than 1. And that means we can afford to provide and use debt service as a way of encouraging the things that need to be done. We have received a substantial amount of money for water and through working with the supplier, as well as federal grants for the sewerage that we are for the pipes that we are laying down for sewers. And I think once these things become well known, you're going to see a lot more growth, a lot more action taking place in Vernon. So my advice to you is to keep track of the land use board. Maybe Mr. Higgins can tell us if there's anything new coming up in the future.
Well, you just hit on some of the big ones. There's other discussion that I'm not allowed to really say on the land use board.
Thank you.
I think Slarson's on it as well. So, yeah, there's discussions, there's an active agenda.
Good. I just want the community to understand that we're not in a hole. We are beginning to turn things around, but we need the infrastructure to do it. And I think that's well on its way. So moving along, is there anyone else?
Council President, do you mind if I just make a
Oh,
comment?
certainly not.
So I know a lot of people, talking about this engine. I don't know anything about it. This was apparently something that happened before my time. But I reviewed the capital plan for the DPW. I did question, I did walk the yard, I kicked the tires. I looked at all the equipment that they are looking to purchase. I do have some issues. There will be some cutting out of it. I will bring those cuts up soon, but it is a couple $100,000 out of some equipment and things that were looked to be purchased. And I didn't find the need to be purchasing this equipment. So I will raise those in due time, but I'm still working through that process. So I am scrutinizing each one of the expenses that, especially large expenses. But so it's just it's a work in process. So we'll get there. But again, like I said, I did look and walk the yard.
And I just want to express again, I know this didn't start under you.
No, yeah.
So want people to know that as well.
Anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up now.
Seeing no one else coming forward, may I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Council comments.
I have a few.
Yes, Higgins, please.
All right. So some of these are from people who don't like to be here or are shy, but call up and ask questions, and a lot of them are good questions. So I'll be their spokesperson. So I even saw one on a post concerning the mayor. There's a difference between a mayor's salary and a mayor's stipend. So that, as we move forward, should be identified and used properly. But if it's a stipend, it's a stipend. If it's a salary, then it's a whole different thing. So it's been brought up and people have asked. So it's our job, I think, to clarify that, whether it's today or in the future at the budget time.
All right.
Secondly, there was a note taken today I saw, and if it's accurate, then we have to update the website with the census. Somebody said that the census that's posted on our website is from 2010, and it's off by a couple thousand people. And if that's the case, money and congressional districts and everything is predicated on the census. I know when I moved here, it was below 20,000, went up to 27 and change. And I think it's at 22 now. I think we're posting at 24. So whoever manages the website can post that. That's a important thing to do. Third, on the budget deadline, I was also reminded that a few years ago, there was a discussion on the budget that was too close to the actual deadline within 2 days. Are we planning to have our final budget presentation and vote before 2 days before the deadline, or where do we stand with that?
Our budget adoption, okay, is at our next meeting.
Okay, so that's well before May 15th then. So we've got a few days in there. Any changes that take place can be taken place and voted on at that time?
I think at that point, if we begin to change, as I discussed with you, with the budget will then have to be re-advertised. Because if you're making a substantial change, we had made those changes, for example, this evening, then it would have, had it become an amended budget, we could have done so.
Right. So we're really at the point we have to do something, because there are 3 items in there. Everybody's discussed, the public as well. The mayor's increase in the salary, the money going to the school buses that, is not very well received by the public, as well as the stipend increase for the council members. They're in the budget. The budget is a 0% increase. If they're removed from the budget, we actually have a negative budget. So there's things we can do with that money. We can put it back in reserve. There's a lot of things that can be done on a positive note. So those have to be put in place.
But if we take the budget, remove it from the budget,
Right.
so it was never there, it doesn't go to a reserve. The proposal that I'm asking people to consider is that we simply do not use that money. Both of those items require council action. The movement of the money that's in that budget for transportation, for a grant, requires the council to approve the parameters and the grant. If we don't do it, it remains there. Same thing with the salaries. The proposed salary increases for the mayor, or stipend increases for the mayor and for the council. If those are not, if we do not pass a salary or stipend ordinance, and that's why I don't know if in fact a stipend is the appropriate term. I would have to ask our auditor on that to see if in fact that would work that way, because we would have to come up with an ordinance which gives you the range for what the amount of money paid to the mayor would be. Again, that's a function of the council. It can't happen unless the council passes it. With that money still in the budget, if it's not used, it then can be funded to the fund balance for the coming year, for the next year. Reason why I'm concerned about that is, as the gentleman who addressed us earlier mentioned that, we're using fund balance and what's going to happen next year. I don't know, and neither do we, but I think the level of fund balance that we're pushing towards is becoming somewhat critical. And I think perhaps we really ought to consider the proposal that I've just outlined.
So it'll build in $72,000 worth of,
You'll have it.
Yeah.
That'll be something like.
that helps, and
Yeah.
the percentage remains zero.
So if we do nothing but adopt the budget, that will occur.
Okay. The other questions were, I guess it'll be discussed at the budget presentation. Some people asking for some more details of recreation, more details of DPW, so you can get into the nuts and bolts of increases, decreases, were there any savings, what's planned? So there have been questions on that. And the other thing I'd like to do is explain that even though to the public, even though there's a 0% tax increase, your taxes can go up. We voted tonight on people who rightfully so are exempt from paying taxes. There's people 65 and over that apply. If they're underneath the minimum amount that they're earning, their taxes are frozen. And when all those numbers add up, it's passed on to the eligible taxpayers. So the budget currently is around $650,000 that the general public is going to make up from those who have been exempted from paying taxes. That's the current situation, and maybe even a little bit higher. So zero is zero, but in reality, you still may see a little bit higher on your tax bill. And the last thing was on the purchase that we made through the contract. That was a national contract, and gentleman in the back said maybe going out to bid on some of these things is a good idea. It is a good idea to occasionally go out to bid. Sometime you use a contract. When you use a contract, it's a lot less work on the municipality because there's an existing national purchasing agreement in place that you can buy equipment under or services. You don't have to negotiate the proper terms of how to make that purchase. And if you go out to bid, then it's a lot of work because you're really going into the details of who the bidders are. You have to determine if they're an appropriate person and if you're getting the right equipment rather than running it through a contract. So I think the town has gone out to bid for things in the past when it was appropriate. I hope so.
Yeah.
And then in other cases here using a national agreement, it was looked like a Texas
Houston.
purchasing order. So just for explanation to people who didn't know the difference, there is a difference. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Di Benedetto, any comments?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this.
What?
It's about Mary Jo Guinchard, who's running for Congress, is doing a meet and greet. I was just gonna give the date and time, not as an endorsement.
No, you can.
Okay, so Mary Jo Guinchard is running for Congress in CD5, our district. And she's gonna be doing a meet and greet at the Vernon VFW on April 28th from 2 to 4. And I thought that was pretty cool because we often don't get a lot of attention from people running for Congress. They're so busy, in other places. It's nice to be getting some attention. And so if you are interested in meeting her and asking her questions, she'll be at the Vernon VFW Sunday, April 28th from 2 to 4. And thank you to Council President Rizzuto for your comments on the public comment section.
Thank you. Mr. Sparta.
I am good. I have nothing.
Thank you. I have very few. I talked a little bit more than I wanted to this evening, but one thing I would like to bring up is that, as we all know, clocks changed a little while ago, but the weather's getting better and we're going to have the youngsters out on the roads. Please, let's watch them. let's look out for them. Let's be careful. They're gonna be riding bikes and, I just would not like to see anything happen that would be untoward. Tragic. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Um,